Welcome to Signs of a Dying Church, or a dying organization, and what to do about it. It is very important for us to be able to understand that no organization is immune from a fall. Somebody wrote these very important words and said, never follow a follower who is trailing a fallen leader. It is the cause of how the planet is disintegrating. And let's say it and let's put it right here. No single organization is immune from a fall. Welcome. This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say Ina Owezekana. If this is your first time to be here, we encourage you to hit Marketplace TV. Hit the subscriber button, and so that the YouTube will be able to notify you every time when we go on air. So that and we also encourage you to please tell us where you're watching us from and how this broadcast is helpful to you. Now, we have said we want to study the signs of a dying organization. How do we know whether a church, whether your business, whether whatever kind, if it's even an NGO, or whether it's your ministry or department, is falling? Now, we need to say a few things before we begin this lesson. We need to say that it is possible. It is possible to notice when an organization is dying. It is not rocket science. It is not hard to tell when an organization is falling. That is very, very important for us to be able to note. Again, it is possible to rise again from decline. And I think that is very good news, that it is possible to rise again from the decline. The presence of leadership killers, or what we call ministry killers, means two things: that the organization is headed towards decline, and that there is the need to bring a turnaround strategy. In this section, we shall deal with the three sections, and they are: section A, we shall deal with the phases of decline, the phases of decline, the phases of decline. Number 2, or section B, we shall deal with the symptoms of a dying organization, the symptoms of a dying organization. And even more exciting, so that we do not stop there, we shall deal with the turnaround strategies to revive a dying organization. So 3 areas of discussion tonight, this morning. We shall deal with the phases of decline. In other words, when our organization, every organization, it doesn't matter whether it's a political party, doesn't matter whether it's a church, doesn't matter whether it's a business, as long as it's an organization, whether it's a non-profit or a profit-making organization, it will go through these 3 phases, the phases that you're going to discuss. Then number 2, what are those symptoms? What is it that you see? What is it that you are able to see in them, so that you are able to tell now this organization is not headed towards profit, or is not healthy, is actually dying. And then number 3, once you establish that this organization is dying, what is it that you need to do? What are the interventions? What are the things that you need to put? What is the turnaround strategy that you can put in place? Of course, not quickly, but methodically, so that you can revive it. Remember, we've said that it is possible to revive a dying organization. Okay? It is really possible. Now, let's begin the section A, the phases of decline. Now, if you think you are immune, you're already on the path to decline. This is something that we get from Jim Collins. Now, Jim Collins, in his excellent book, How the Mighty Fall, and Why Some Companies Never Give In. Now, this guy is an American business consultant, a popular lecturer, if you ask me, and an author of numerous books, including Great by Choice, Great by Choice is another book that he has also written called Built to Last. Okay, those are some of the books in which he has written. Now, for him, he is a firm believer that it is possible. It is really possible to detect decline. It is really possible to detect decline in an organization. If the decline we are saying is detected early, it is easy to revert it. However, if it's detected late, then it becomes an uphill task to stop the decline. We should encourage you to read that book. That book is How the Mighty Fall. Okay, and if you are around Nairobi, or you're around a rural area or Thika, you can borrow that book. I would be personally happy to give you a copy. Or if you would want to buy it, you can SMS me on the lines that are on my SMS line. The lines that line that is right on your screen, and just saying just put hash how the mighty fall, and then I'll be able to work out a plan on how you can get that book. Now let's continue saying. Now we would encourage you to read that book. No matter how big or profitable organization can be, remember it can crumble. It's easy, it's easy for an organization to head towards decline than towards rise. The good news is that if the ailment is diagnosed early, death can be averted. As such, leaders need to be cautious. Leaders need to be cautious. To avoid decline as much as possible. In our case, presence of leadership killers. Presence of leadership killers can halt firms' growth. In this book, How the Mighty Fall, Jim Collins discusses hubris born of success. Hubris is Hibris. Hubris born of success. If you ask me what is hubris, I'll simply tell you it's arrogance. It is arrogance. I am too big to fall. At this stage, the firms feel that they are entitled to success. There is that feeling that we are entitled to success. At hubris level, we say we are so great, we can do anything. Such arrogance is based on the past success stories that makes one to feel too big. That makes somebody to feel too big. Okay? Right? So in this stage, firms neglect the practices that made them successful, or what is known as competitive advantage. Okay? Again, the firm stops improvement, culture, openness, as well as to do something that is new. Okay? So it is very important for you to understand that. Okay? That during this stage, the company or the leaders, of course, are just arrogant. They want to try things that they have never tried. Okay, so and when you tell them that you cannot be able to be successful, they say we've tried. They use a common Swahili phrase, nani kama sisi. They say tutawezana. They develop. They are just arrogant. They venture into areas in which they basically know they cannot be successful, and they think simply because we were successful last time, then we are going to be successful even in this venture. They think they are too big to fall. Now, if the leaders are not able to detect this, the hubris born of success, then the organization slips or goes to the next stage, which we call undisciplined pursuit of more. Undisciplined pursuit of more. Now, organization headed towards decline moves away from what made her successful in the first place, and she leaps into areas in which she cannot be successful at. And an example that Jim Collins discusses in his book, that is Walmart, he gives a comparison between Walmart and Arms. The former, that is Walmart, stuck to focus on small towns and low prices. And she stuck to the discipline. Now, note, she stuck to the discipline of keeping product low and opening businesses in small towns. That was the strategy that Walmart adopted. That they open businesses in small towns and they ensure that their prices are always low. That was the discipline. Okay? But for Arms, she changed. She changed the strategy. She changed tactics by buying off Sion, a decision that led them to decline. In this phase of the 5 stages of decline described by Jim Collins, organizations stray away. In other words, they run away. They stray away from the structure and activities that led them to greatness in the first place. Okay? You know, and when an organization tries to swallow, more than dogs today. One source makes this observation: when an organization grows beyond its ability to fill its key seat with the right people, then it is set up for a fall. Okay? So basically, when it is a undisciplined pursuit for more, we simply says that is the key discipline that actually helped the organization to be successful. Now, once they become successful, what they do is that they start doing things they stray away, in other words, from those activities, from those things that they did that made them to be successful in the first place. In other words, they try to swallow more. Okay, it's not necessarily a leap of faith, because some people would confuse a leap of faith from trying to do more than you can be able to do. You know, a leap of faith is you know you can do it. It's only that you're afraid of doing it. But a disciplined pursuit for more simply says that you know you cannot do it. You know you lack the capacity. You know the timing is wrong. You know it's an area in which you're not gifted to venture into, and so you foolishly and dive into it, and so you prepare yourself, or you usher the organization into what we call failure. Stage number 3 is denial of risk and danger. Denial of risk and failure. Of risk and peril. You know, even when things look gloomy, because especially when you pursue a venture into which you are not able to succeed, when you sorrow something that is bigger than you and you are joking to death, the farms continue denying. And instead of admitting, farms exaggerate the good news or downplay the negative data. Like an ostrich, they bury their head into sand, hoping that the fire will not catch up with them. And they manufacture excuses. Instead of taking measures to arrest the decline. Instead of admitting, the leaders blame the external factor. Okay? And that is the case with the Kenya queue at one time, when Titus Naikuni, then the CEO, was leaving, and when Guvi took over, I think he was Buvi Gunze, or Gunze Buvi, I can't remember the wording, when he was taking over. Titus, when he's leaving, he is living with a lot of money, yet actually there was bad attitude, there was bad governance, and a whole host of things that were happening around. But when his new CEO came, he said it's because of Abraham. And that's an example of denial. Things are gloomy, things are bad, things are not good, but the organization still continue to manufacture excuses on why they are not able to make it, or they bring the external factors instead of bringing the internal factors. If this again, when organization outlives this, which is grasping for salvation, grasping for salvation. At this stage, the organization looks for someone to rescue them from their downfall. They look for someone to rescue them from downfall. Interesting is that most of these so-called saviors increase the speed. They increase the speed at which the organization spirals down towards decline. Some of the strategies employed at this stage includes leaps in technology, new solutions to problems, or entering new markets. So it might be three. The saviors will come and recommend basically three things. They will come and say, let's have a new technology around here, okay? Not even compatible with the organizations, and they are ushered so quickly when the company or the organization is not actually ready for them. Or basically, they will try new markets. If they were Asian based, they will try Africa. The bad news again, as we have said, some of those interventions, all those strategies that are aimed at saving, remember, they will grasp for salvation. In other words, they are in a hurry, they are in a rush. They want to salvage whatever they can salvage. And in these rushed and hurried interventions, they are untested. Remember, the goal is not to on board. So he or she with a clear vision, a radical transformation, or a game-changing strategy. And you're not necessarily saying a charismatic leader is bad, but what we are saying is that the kind of, at this time, what they bring in is something that is radical. The vision is clear, changing strategies. They want to make a name. Remember, they are grasping for salvation. And why do charismatic and visionary savior fail? Somebody might ask. A very good question. And the answer is very simple. And you've already said it. He or she employs untested methods. Untested methods. Remember, much as you want to bring a turnaround strategy, much as you want to save an organization from falling, it is very important that you ask yourself, will this work here? And you need to really ask that question, will this work here? Stage number 5 is capitulation to irrelevance or death. Capitulation to irrelevance or death. From the word capital. Capitulation to irrelevance or death. Now the charismatic leader gives up. Because of course the methods are untested. And so we are saying the method does not work. And when it does not work, what happens is that the leader gives up and leaves, giving way for organization to seek into oblivion. And this is what Oprah in the Bible did. She failed to make the right decision. When a company fails to pick up, it's either sold or closes down or disappears to irrelevance. You remember the East Africa batteries in Nakuru when it became elusive. You remember the dailies that they screamed, the cat has finally lost its 9th life. And this is what happens. They either sell themselves, or they close down, or they disappear. Nobody talks about them again. Okay? So a few closing statements or closing observations on what we discussed. Number 1, no one wants to think about how a company falls. Nobody wants to think about how a company falls, but by doing so, you learn about what not to do. Also, you might even recognize your company in the early stages of decline. It is very important for us to ask ourselves, how can we fail? As a pastor, ask yourself, what can make this church fall? As a businessman, ask yourself, what can make this business to fall? As a politician, it's always good to ask yourself, like the Jubilee, they need to ask themselves, what can make our company, our political party to fall? Even with the Kenya Kwanza, with the success stories that they are having, despite them being in government, one of the biggest preoccupation that the president needs to be thinking about, what can make the Kenyans to fail, I mean, lose trust in me and my administration. You know, no one wants to think about how a company falls, but that is a very important kind of thinking, because once you think about what can make us fall, you're going to put into strategies, intervening strategies that can help you not to sleep, not to fall. Number two, know the 5 stages. Know what know the 5 stages. We are saying know the 5 stages of the company decline. Know what they are and where where your company falls. You just might be able to stop your company from sliding into decline. In other words, look at your organization and be able to identify within the 5 stages of decline. Where are we? Are we on stage 1? Are we on stage 2? Are we on stage 3? Or are we on the last stage? Now, that is very important, because we've said, and we'll keep on saying this, that remember, it is possible to avert a fall. Number two, we've also said, not only is it possible to avert a fall, but again, we have also said, the earlier you detect a fall, the easier it becomes to avert it. Okay, so that is very important. Number three, if you recognize your company is in early stages, just building up on what we've said, if you recognize your company is in the early stage of decline, act now and stop further decline. It's possible to stop decline in the early stages, but it's virtually impossible to stop a decline in the last stage. Well, it is possible. Even in the last stage, it is possible to avert, but then it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of intervening measures. Okay, but mostly it is easier to avert a decline in the early stages. In the stage 1 and stage 2, it's really easy. In stage 4 and stage 5, it is actually very, very difficult. Let's go to section 2, because we've been able to discuss the 5 phases of a declining organization. Please, it is very important for you as a leader to be able to tell where at what stage is your organization is. Okay, remember, no organization is immune from a fall. Now let's go to section 2, symptoms of a dying organization. Symptoms of a dying organization. This is marketplace media, an online platform that engages and equips and encourages believers to encourage you to hit the subscriber button, such that every time we upload a new video, then YouTube will notify you. Let's grow the community, please. We want to grow this to 150 family members. Let's share. So, the symptoms of a dying organization. Vanco Date, in a 2022 publication, says, is the opinion that many of the signs are hard to spot. They are hard to spot. All the same, it's important to learn how to spot them. And they are hard to spot if you're asking me. Because some people, as we have said, they're not willing to admit them. And so they don't look obvious. They don't look obvious. You know, they don't come to organization to fall. And the kind of attitude we are telling you that a leader needs to have is to be paranoid. Paranoid simply says, we're expecting that the organization is going to fall, and then going a step further, doing something that can help the organization not to fall. You can fall, you can make a mistake, you can slip, is not enough. But then, putting intervening measures, putting into place interventions that can be able to save you from those challenges, from falling, is very important. And so, this time we are going to combine what we call we are going to because I'm a church person, much as I'm also a business person, I am going to, we are going to restrict ourselves to what we call a church. Okay? And then again, we are also going to combine with business. Okay? So we are going to combine business and church, because our audience is drawn from both business and church. And so the first sign, the first symptom is low, or the first one sign, the first symptoms there, of course, is prayerlessness. Prayerlessness. In his work, 5 Signs of a Dying Church and What to Do About It, prayerlessness is listed as one of the signs of a dying church. And even in an organization, when people are not able to come together and pray together, and it doesn't matter whether they are, whatever it is, that fact that people are not coming to ask, for blessing from God, will open up, a organization to its death. Now, when believers fail to come together, and pray together and for each other, of course, what's going to happen is that the church lacks power to move on. And lack of prayer means that the believers lack the sense of God's presence. They lack the sense of God's presence and power in their lives. It simply means that believers are not expectant of the move of God in their lives. Now, we need to continue saying that prayerlessness is a sin. Prayerlessness is a sin. And there is an excellent article, 6 Reasons Why Prayerlessness is a Sin. And Stephen Nelson offers the following reason why prayerlessness is a sin. Because the Bible refers it as a sin. The Bible refers it as sin. Okay? The Bible refers it as sin. Okay? That is very, very important for us to be able to know that the Bible refers it as sin. Okay? Samuel, the prophet who mentored both Saul and David, was a great prayer warrior. And part of his success, we say, lay in praying for other people. One of the things that would make him guilty, he said, is to fail to pray for Israel. And this is what he wrote in 1 Samuel 12:23. He said, I would be disobeying the Lord. I would be disobeying the Lord if I stopped praying for it. It's lack of burden. It's lack of burden. Okay? It's lack of burden. Someone so loved the people that should he have failed to pray for them, he would have felt guilty. It shows that Samuel had a burden. He had a burden for others. And one of the sure expression of love for the people is when we are willing to take them to the throne room of God. A leader who does not take time off to pray for the people for the people he is leading is both insensitive and uncaring. Okay? So a healthy church does not have a sense of God's presence. So they don't prioritize on prayer, and those are the signs that your church is in trouble. Even an organization that does not have time for prayer actually is an organization that is headed to trouble. Okay? Now, because they don't have the sense of his presence, they don't expect prayers to be answered. Symptom number 2 is decreasing church attendance. In business cases, in business areas, we say high turnover organization instead of coming in. Turnover, when we talk about turnover, we are just asking the simple question: how many people are coming in and how many people are leaving? When the people that are leaving, when the number of people that are leaving is higher than the people that are coming in, then we are headed into trouble. And even in a church organization, what we are simply saying, when the people, when the church attendance actually goes down instead of going up, that is a sure sign that there is trouble. Days are gone when church members fail to attend church 50 times out of 50 2 times. Why do most people fail to attend a church worship service? And we are in times when most of the young generation prefer not to show up in a worship service. When the church attendance goes down, and only rises in special days, this describes a done church. If the only time when people shows up in church is on Christmas Day and on New Year Eve, then that church is headed into is a dying church. Okay, in his monthly book, Taking Your Church to the Next Level, Gary L. McIntosh described a dying church with these words. We quote, "Newcomers rarely visit. Newcomers rarely visit. When they do, most are so uncomfortable, they never return." Most newcomers rarely visit, and when they do, they are so uncomfortable, they rarely return. Most of the people no longer feel guilty for not showing up in church, in a church service. Again, most of the children activities are slaughtered almost the same day as the worship service, with parents opting to take their children out instead of attending church. Again, the church attendance is no longer a priority for most affluent people, those wealthy people. In this materialistic culture, church attendance seems not to bring any value to the attendance. Again, with the online option, most people would prefer to follow a service from the comfort of their couch at home. Finally, according to a guy called Kali Neufo, in the article 10 reasons even committed Christians are attending church less often, he thinks that most of the careers requires much traveling, causing low attendance in worship service. A casual look at the above reasons diffuse both real and fake reasons. Maybe it's time we remind non-church goers this verse, in Psalm 84 verse 10, that one day in your temple is better. One day in your temple is better than 1,000 anywhere. I would rather serve in your house than live in the home of the wicked. The Message version paints it even better. One day, okay, this is one day is spent in your house, this beautiful place of worship, beats 1,000 spent on Greek island beaches. I would rather scarf wars in the house of my God than being honored as a guest in the Paris of sin. Very interesting. Symptom number 3: low or lack of conversions. When is the last time the church conducted? When is the last time the church conducted an evangelistic campaign? We're living in times when Great Commission has become the Great Omission. We're living in times when the Great Commission has become the Great Omission. And we are witnessing lowered interest in evangelism these days. And why is this? Number 1, misunderstanding. A guy by the name Right Reverend Jane Masuka offers the following insights. We quote, "Today in the 21st century, congregations are making a mistake in thinking that evangelism is a program of the church. Faith sharing is not a program of the church. To the contrary, the church, when it is authentic, is a ministry of faith sharing. Evangelism is not a program. It should be our lifestyle. Every day is Evangelism Day." Number 2, evangelism is no longer a priority. Evangelism is no longer a priority. Okay? We are saying most churches are comfortable running the whole year without organizing an evangelism campaign. Our occasion on evangelism campaign is met with cold feet. Remember, what you prioritize on grows and determines your destiny. Maybe it's high time John Wesley speaks to us with the words, "Save as many souls as you can." Number 3, why evangelism there is no conversion is excuse mentality. Most believers would say, I don't know how to reach out. It is the responsibility of the clergy of evangelistic team, or even I don't have time to reach and without your area. So those excuses actually stops people from carrying evangelism within and without their area. Number 4 is loss of passion for unreached persons. Lost passion for unreached persons. Lost passion. One of the driving force for Paul's missionary journey was his passion for lost souls. Unfortunately, this passion, this fire is quenched by the materialistic culture prevailing these days. In his book, Missions and Evangelism, Doug Hayward makes this urge. We quote, let's die preaching. Let's die preaching. Number 5, why there is an intentional evangelistic. An intentional evangelism, okay, right? According to Tom S. Lehner, the founder and the CEO of churchesanswers.com, he has an article, 7 factors hindering evangelism in churches. He notes that most churches are not intentionally evangelistic. And in every church program, whether it's youth, men, or ladies, leaders need to make it intentionally a reach out to the soul. Okay? So whether it's a youth program, whether it's a children program, whether it's a men program, a ladies program, it must be tailored in a way that it's also reaching out. You know, every program in a church, we are saying it should be two-pronged. Prong 1, raising people, the believers that are there, they are equipped, they are empowered. But again, at the same time, it should have prong 2. And actually, it should be the other way around. Prong 1 should be those that are not saved, those that are not given their lives to Jesus Christ, they are called. And then the prong number 2 is that those that are saved are equipped to reach out. Okay. Now, whatever is hindering the evangelism figure, Jesus' last word should spur each one of us to go out and reach out lost souls. We find them in Matthew 28, verse 19. Go to the people of all nations and make them my disciples. The command, now listen, the command is to go, not sit. The command is in present tense, not in past tense. The command is not a suggestion. The command is not a suggestion, nor an option. Symptom number 4 of dying organization is change is resisted. Change is resisted. Another mark of dying church or organization is unwillingness to change. In other words, there is no innovation. During the early months of any organization, there is a lot of innovation. And just as passion wanes in a dying organization, so the innovation. When this happens, Carey Rainford, in his 7 subtle signs churches dying, believes that the innovators leave the church or organization since the environment does not encourage experimentation or improvement. Dying church or organization are not excited by freshness of improvement. In other words, instead of experimenting, instead of giving opportunity to try something new, organization just say we want to remain as we are. Okay, and among the key indicators of this scenario are as follows: there is low decline of members. In other words, organization that wants to keep things the same way as they are will have low decline of members. Number 2, there is lots of criticism. There's lots of criticism, especially for new ideas. Any proposed change is met with a lot of criticism. Number 3, much of the conversations among the workers is on past rather on future. They talk about the good old days. And then number 4, there is what we call maintenance mode. That is in the article by Rick Witter, 6 subtle signs that a church is on deathbed. He observes that Rick observes that a church on her deathbed focuses more on keeping members than attracting new ones. When new members are failing to join new members, when new members are failing to join in, of course, what happens is that the organization or the church closes down. Okay, and offers must be put into place to attract new members all the year around. And then number 5 is failing to try anything new. Failing to try anything new. They love the old days instead of anticipating new move of the Lord. Listen to what God is saying to those of you who are tradition lovers. Forget what happened long ago. Don't think about the past, for I am creating something new. There it is. Don't you see it? I've put roads in desert streams in thirsty lands. That is Isaiah 43 verse 18. Now Vic Kennard offers this advice. I quote, anyone who can't change his or her mind don't deserve a mind. Let me take that again. Anyone who can't change his or her mind don't deserve a mind. Number 6, there is lots of inflexibility among the leadership, and the excuses that are given are as follows. Okay, we'll list 4 of them. We have always done it that way. We've always done it that way. 2, we tried it that way and it did not work. We tried it that way and it did not work. These are the excuses. Those are the signs of inflexibility. Number 3, why do we need to do it that way? Why do we need to do it that way? And then finally, most people would feel uncomfortable to do it any other way. Most people would feel uncomfortable to do it any other way. Okay? Now, symptom number 5 of dying organization is what we call permissiveness. Permissiveness. Okay? Permissiveness. In the business sector and also in church sector, there is permissiveness. There is permissiveness. That is, everyone is free to do that which they please. People, there is the culture of impunity. People, you are free to do anything as you please. In such a scenario, people are not afraid of breaking the law. Even when they are caught, the system does not punish them or let them go unpunished. With the church, this increases moral laxity. And what are the telltale signs of a permissive culture? Now, there's an excellent article, Characteristic stroke manifestation of a permissive society, where Mwaikusi shares the following telltale signs. Okay, number 1, there is habitual corruption. Habitual corruption. Okay, habitual corruption. Now, an embezzlement of government funds, and there is lack of goodwill within the judiciary to let the culprit go unpunished. Then number 2, there is preference of nepotism. Preference of nepotism. That is the practice among of those with power or influence favoring either relatives or favoring friends or associates, especially by giving them jobs that they are unqualified. And favoritism, this is the practice of giving unfair or preferential treatment to one person or group at the expense of another. Number 3 is high rise of slum areas. High rise of slum areas. Since most people cannot live in a decent places because of high cost of living and high employment, okay, most people are unable to complete education, that's learning into poor paying jobs or no jobs at all. Number 4 is increased moral laxity. Increased moral laxity. Just recently, one of our dailies in this country made a chilling revelation. Quote, a new government survey has exposed the extent of extramarital affairs in the country, revealing that Kenyan men have an average of 7 sexual partners and women